Hello, welcome to this week's Coffee Chat. Well, we've lost Keely, but we're back together.
She was here a moment ago, but she's disappeared.
She's gone somewhere, not sure where she's gone.
I think she's got a better offer.
Yeah, true. Well, it's snowing outside at the moment, so maybe she's sledging.
Yeah, maybe. Not, maybe optimistic, but...
Slightly optimistic to sledge. Do you have any good snow stories in your life?
Well, Keely's nan used to tell me of the great snows back in the day in the Black Country, in sort of around the Birmingham area, and she told me of a time when snow drifted as high as the lampposts, and they used to cut channels through the snow just to be able to get backwards and forwards.
How could it go as high as a lamppost?
I don't know, but that's what she told me. I'm sure it was true. I mean, they had some pretty cold...
That is crazy.
Yeah. So I know Whitstable, the sea's frozen in the past. But to be honest, it's just a light dusting, isn't it, really, at the moment?
It is a light dusting.
I'm getting very excited.
It looks nice.
It's pretty. And everyone's grinding to a halt, but really it's just a very light dusting of...
Yeah, although I did see a car this morning skidding all over the place and need people to push it down the hill, so that's always exciting.
It wasn't you, was it?
That happened. No, it wasn't me. No, okay. My car was more than okay.
More than capable.
This morning, so...
Good.
Yeah. Before we talk about last Sunday, just want to quickly touch on yesterday, if people are watching this on the Wednesday that it goes out.
Okay.
Yesterday... our social media campaign went out for Riverside 360, our discipleship year. So do you want to quickly say what excites you about this discipleship year that we're hoping to start in September?
Sure. I think for us, we grew up with opportunities in church. We grew up, so I came to Christ in my early 20s. And so we joined essentially what was a very young church run by young people. And I think we got involved in so much stuff. We got involved in everything from worship to preaching to ministry to organisational stuff. And I think for us, we just love being that kind of hands-on. And I think what we're trying to do with 360 is give people a similar experience of actually connecting all the different things that make church life happen and giving them that full kind of wraparound experience of what sort of being involved in church looks like. Maybe they go onto a call into ministry, maybe they just go into a secular job, but try and give them transferable skills, really. Yeah. They're going to really help them develop them.
Well, I'm really excited about the community aspect. I think when people are doing things together, like this kind of thing, a community gets built that kind of is contagious. And I'm really excited for that. I'm hoping that I do believe that God's going to send the right people
absolutely
at the right time, and it's going to be really excited as we go together and journey together about what God has to do in this coming moment.
So if you're watching this, or if you know somebody who may be interested, pass this on. But yeah, we're really praying that God will send the right people. So far, God has been sending people to Kent, sending people to Whitstable to extend His kingdom. So you may be part of what God wants for this area. So pray and see if God touches your heart. That's part of your story, isn't it? God sent you. You really prayed and felt God send you here. So we love that. We love that when God sends people to different parts of the country.
Definitely. So Sunday,
yes,
you had a very, very good talk from Simon. I'd recommend, if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it after this coffee chat or before. Either way. Do you want to just give us a little summary of what your talk was about?
Yeah, the theme was really breaking and smashing. Ron touched into this whole thing about Watchman Nee communicating powerfully an unspoken message to church leaders, using a breaking glass to symbolise the way God released the gospel through persecution. And that really reminded me of the story of the woman who broke the alabaster jar and anointed Jesus with perfume. So that for me, that breaking, I spoke about two phases of breaking. A first stage where we experience the cost and sometimes the irrational nature of what's happening, and then we enter the beauty and the intimacy of the breaking. So for me, looking into that a bit deeper, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really interesting, the spin on what Ronald said that you took. And do you think at the moment we're in a time of breaking?
Yeah, I think if we're honest, God is always breaking and remaking. I think just sometimes we don't recognise it as much as we do at the moment. I think in my own life I can chart times when God has been breaking stuff down and remaking stuff. I think we tend to think about the Christian walk as being something quite sort of sequential, but I think God sees it much more. I love the analogy of a garden, that we're like a garden that God tends, and in John 15 Jesus talks about the Father being like the gardener. And so whenever I've worked a patch of ground or a garden, you go to one bit, you do a bit, you come back later on, you do a bit more, rather than saying, I'll lay a patio, then I'll layer this, then I'll layer that. Actually, you work in different parts of the garden, and that means sometimes you come back to a part and say, actually, that's coming out, and something else new is going in. And I think God is always kind of doing that tending and remaking and breaking in us to form Christ. So I think we're in a very overt sense of breaking, it feels like with COVID, but also I think it's just more of the same, really. God is always reshaping and modelling us, I think, to be like Christ.
So, in looking at that story of the alabaster jar, what does it look like for us to be in that time of breaking and remaking, and how can we learn from the woman that broke the alabaster jar and her experience?
Well, I think what really, again, as I studied that passage, what came through is that she broke it like, the Greek word is to shatter. So I can only think of like a chocolate Easter egg. That's my best analogy I think of, when you want to eat that chocolate Easter egg.
Straight into it.
You break it and all those pieces are there, and then you've got what's inside the egg. But it was as broken as that was. There's no way that she could put that jar back together again and try and save some of that perfume. And she wanted to break it open so everything that was inside could be released. And I think it was that sense of absolute surrender and commitment. And I think Jesus is always looking for us to enter into that utter sort of openness and surrender. So I think if we consider ourselves to be like that jar, God is continually wanting us to kind of open ourselves more and more so he can actually, rather than just holding bits back.
Yeah.
She couldn't take any perfume away with her. She couldn't put a bit in her pockets. She couldn't save some. It all got opened up. It all got released. And I think if we can recognise that surrender, and in that surrender there's this beauty and this gospel moment, then I think we've grasped a bit of the heart of what she did that day. Because she wasn't trying to leave that room with a bit in reserve, was she? She wasn't trying to keep a bit back because she felt maybe if I waste this on Jesus, then I won't have anything left for myself. And I think often what our inner voices tell us is if we open completely to Jesus, that leaves us so vulnerable. What if it doesn't work? Or what if I've got nothing left?
Do you think that's what sometimes holds us back from fully surrendering everything? Is that vulnerability of where am I left if I give everything to God, then what do I have to fall back on?
I think ultimately, I think that's absolutely true, because human nature says, we need to have something back just in case. We need to have a plan B in case plan A doesn't work out. We've all got plan Bs. We're educated to have insurances and to have savings and all those things in themselves are wrong. But Jesus said some strange things around, trust me beyond what's reasonable. Someone asks for your cloak, give me your tunic as well. If someone asks for this, then go for a mile, then walk an extra mile. There's always this sense of, with God, how prepared are you to surrender more fully to me? And in surrendering, really know that I am God, rather than just meeting our own needs met.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So what do you think it looks like for us to, how are we able to be more vulnerable in surrendering everything, like this woman? How can we practically go about being more vulnerable in such a way?
I think it's inviting God into everything, really. I think more than ever we have to recognise that God isn't this, we've talked about already in this series, that God isn't the God of the temple. God isn't constrained to a certain place at a certain time. And what we can do at this time is try and invite God into every part of our lives, because no longer we could be watching this or the Sunday talk at any point. We could be watching it any way. We're not constrained to certain times or certain places. So more than ever, we can invite God into every part of our lives, I think, and say, God, where are you in this decision today I'm making? Where are you in this particular thing I'm doing? Where are you in this, where I'm using my time, my resources, my energy, my talents? And invite him into all those things. And I think in doing that, we're progressively surrendering more and more of our lives to God, because we're becoming more God aware, and God is interested in all those things. So even the smallest things God's interested in, because I think as we share them with him, our relationship with him deepens. So and God knows that this is a journey. I'm interested to know for that woman, what brought us to that point. We don't know, do we? She's not even named. I mean, she might have been Mary Magdalene, we don't know. But, what brought us to that point of making that decision that day? She must have been around Jesus and journeying with Jesus and deciding that this was the right thing to do. And I'm really fascinated by that journey of her heart that took her to that time of essentially a year's wages. I mean, that's a lot of value.
Yeah, that is crazy. And I think it's a real challenge, isn't it? I mean, I think this week your talk that you did actually fits in really nicely with the week before, because this surrendering, this giving of everything of your life, sometimes I think what can stop us from doing that is that part of our life that we want to keep to ourselves, that part of our life that we don't want God to come into, because this is our thing.
Yeah.
This, this is God's thing. Maybe a Sunday, that's God's thing.
Yeah.
But this is my thing. I want to hold on tight to this.
Yeah.
And this surrendering all is bringing those two things together, isn't it? It's saying, do you know what, God? I want you to be a part of every part of my life.
Absolutely. And recognising that Jesus gave way more than we can ever give back. He gave everything. As I said in the talk, he was the ultimate alabaster jar. He was broken for us. And so whatever we deem to give back to him really is a token compared to what he gave for us. And I think we get that understanding in greater measure as we open our hands more and more to what Jesus wants. And I think as we open our hands, I'm sure that woman had she had a story, didn't she? She had the story that she was the one who anointed Jesus, that wouldn't have come about unless she chose to make that prodigal act that she did, that extravagantly wasteful choice. Even with the critics in her ears, around what they thought she should have done. Yeah. I love it when Jesus says, shut up. Let me tell you how it is. Let me tell you, this is a beautiful thing. You need to understand what she's done. She's entered into my journey, my suffering, my road, in a way that was unique to her.
What a challenge that is.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I do these talks, they challenge me as much as they challenge, hopefully, you. I think, we're journeying together with this great series. So looking forward to what you're going to do. And by the way, you didn't spot my Avenger references.
No. Did you? I'm interested. Can you put in the comments below? Because I want to know if you spotted the Avenger link. So do you want to tell us what the Avenger link was?
Shall I wait? How do you want to do it? Okay, I'll tell you. They were a bit sneaky. There's two Avenger links.
Pause now and put in the comments what you think it was, and then press play. And Simon's going to say now.
Okay, there were two sneaky Avenger references. There was Shield Ed. Okay, so I know that was very, very naughty.
That's so sneaky.
Shield, and Vision was also mentioned, who you may or may not be aware is an Avenger character.
So what was the context of that? Do you remember the context?
Yeah, the one was we're shielded from persecution.
Yeah.
Very good. And the second one was in terms of how much of a vision do we have for the future in the midst of persecution.
Okay, so we're getting really sneaky now. This is if you got that,
you were expecting the whole Queen because smashing.
I was really expecting the whole.
So I just snuck those by.
If you got that, then very well done, because that takes some spotting.
That was beneath the radar.
So see if you can spot the one next week in my talk.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Because we're running out of characters.
We're running out of characters. I'm gonna have to be clever.
That can easily be mentioned in a talk. So.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you this week for this week's coffee chat, and we'll see you again next week.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.